What's going on? What's going on, fine people out there? It's Nate, host of this marvelous Artist Exchange radio show. We took a brief hiatus for the week, and now we're back. And I have a very special guest with me today, Mr. DB Marshall. Before we introduce him, I wanted to send out a special announcement. We have a friend of the station, a friend of the show, Mr. Card Knight, aka Miss Coco or Amira. She is a performer, a singer, a artist, a hairdresser. She moved out to California a couple years ago, and she's been building her career and doing her thing, but she's come up missing. People have not seen her since it says Coco has been missing since April 1st, 2021, and was last seen in Hollywood, California. It is extremely unlike Coco to be in and not in contact with her family or her daughter. Please help us find her. You can give her a call. You can give them a call at 310-707-8130. Again, that's 310-707-8130. You can call or text with any information if you've heard from her, if you've seen her, if you talked to her, if you've gotten any information from somebody else. Try to keep it professional. No, I heard, or if you have actual information for the family, they're reaching out and asking for the art community or in the community at large help. Here in Baltimore, all the way over to California, if you heard anything, please send them a message again at 310-707-8130. I hate giving bad news like that, but this is the world we're living in right now. So let's be our brothers and sisters keepers and support her family and her friends in helping her to return home safely. But without further ado, Mr. DB Marshall, how you doing, sir? Look at this mic in front of me. Unmute yourself.
I knew that.
There we
I
go.
knew that. I was just testing you.
Testing me.
You
I got
on
you.
top of your game.
I got you. I don't, because sometimes I go talking and the thing's still on for me.
But I'm doing well, sir. Thank you for the invitation and the applause. I live for an applause like Lady Gaga. I heard them, I was like, oh, that's for me. That's for me.
Anytime we like to like surround our guests here on the Artist Exchange radio show. But welcome back. I'm gonna say welcome back because you've been here already.
Yes.
And we're also on another station together, We Are You Radio.
Right.
And I catch your shows Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Wednesdays. And I'm really excited to bring you back. When you were here last, we were talking about your book. Now your book is out. And
Yes.
You're making the rounds, and you're selling the books, and you're getting things
Yes.
done, and you're working on your dissertation, all of that jazz, your radio personality, speaker, inspirational speaker, all those things. And we're going to talk about all those things right now. So tell us right now, what's been the kind of the feedback from the book so far?
So far the book has gotten great feedback. So I don't know about you all out there that's listening or any artist. So when you put something out there, this is my first time that I'm putting myself out there, right? So it's almost like an album, right? You single out there, you don't know how people are going to respond to it, and you like, oh my God,
it's scary.
Yes,
like you birthed the baby.
You did, birthed twins. But with that said, I had to mentally prepare myself for that stage. But it got great for feedback for the most part. People are really embracing it. I had one person just say, hey, I couldn't put it down. I read the whole book in a day because it just got so good. Somebody else just said, make sure you have a box of tissue because it does take you on this roller coaster because we're dealing with emotions and we're dealing with mindset. And, the goal of the book is to actually put the mirror in front of you so you can see yourself and address yourself.
Right.
And some people may not be ready for that. I mean, I don't think we're ever always ready to address who we are.
It's because often, especially, it's not. I used to think that it was just us being arrogant or stubborn, but often trauma is hard to let go because you live with it for however long you've had it,
Yeah.
and it becomes a part of you, it becomes a limb or an extension of yourself, and it's hard
Mhm.
to really, you know, break that habit or that cycle. And one of as we were talking, I was talking to my friend as I was ordering a book this morning, and I was saying, it really trauma is crazy because it comes as if it's a comfort. It feels almost like a comfort, even though it's really uncomfortable. You learn to be comfortable with it. You learn to live with it. You learn to live through it and almost use it as a crutch often. But that mirror is often once you're faced with the mirror or that reflection of whatever that trauma, whatever that thing is that you're going through, it's hard to face it because then you have to admit that you've been carrying this around,
Yeah.
that you've been utilizing it as if it was a tool, and you just have to. It's, admittance is kind of the strongest uh, thing to let go or to admit to. You got to admit to it. That's kind of hard to do.
Yeah, that's
But
very true.
mhm,
What we don't realize is that when the trauma happened, and also depending on what age it happened to. So let's be clear about that. But
mm,
let's just take it from a perspective of, an adult as of 21 years and older. Let's just deal with that age range.
mhm,
We dated, okay? And that's a problem. We start dating it,
mm,
courting it, taking it out to
mm,
dinner, taking it out when we go on other, informal or formal dates. And it's
right.
almost like a Siamese twin. It's like you're kind of carrying it everywhere that you go, and we're not
Mhm,
addressing it. And so then you wonder why certain things aren't happening or manifesting in your life because you
mhm,
are dating, or some people they have married their trauma,
yeah.
right? So
Lifelong
yeah,
partnerships.
and that's a problem. Just instead of focus on a relationship with the trauma, focus on a relationship with yourself, or focus on a
Mhm,
relationship with your partner.
right.
Oftentimes, we are married and we stuck with that type of vicious thinking, a vicious cycle of what has happened to us, and not to say what happened was appropriate and what happened was okay. What's not okay is you're not dealing with it in a healthy way because then it affects all areas of your life.
And and I'm at a space right now because I say a lot. Because on another show that I'm on, the We Are You Morning Through, we talk about a lot of issues where people are going through some mental health issues,
Right.
and it's not okay for people to tell people get over something or deal with it. But what has to happen is you have to help them be aware of it because once you are aware of it, you normally want to get rid of it, and that process alone helps the person more than anything you could admonish them for or beat them over the head for, because often this trauma or these triggers or whatever happened to them wasn't their fault.
Yeah.
So, it's often it's something like you said, dealing with just people 21 and over. But even people, if you go further back than that, a lot of times people don't even know what they're holding on to. It's normally something that's been passed down to them,
That's true.
or so understanding how people address the problem is, I think, the biggest key for people on the outside. We
Yeah.
can't, because you tucked yours down way deep and didn't deal with it, and now you're getting through with life. It doesn't always happen the same way for people. Some people, they wear it on their shoulder, on their sleeve. Some people, they have no real connection to it, but it's still there. And they
Yeah.
don't really understand, like you said, why things aren't happening for them or why things aren't clicking because they still have this piece of baggage that they're carrying around with them,
Yeah.
willingly or unwillingly, knowingly or unknowingly.
Mhm.
But your book kind of explores just, I wouldn't say it tells you what to do, but for me, even the write ups that I've seen of it and hearing you speak about it on your show, it really, um, it kind of gives you the steps to the awareness process. That's what I
Mhm.
took from it.
Yeah, that's definitely what it does. It's just to challenge your thought process. So the goal
Mhm,
is to change your negative thinking or that victim thinking, right? And so
mm,
most of our thoughts and
getting high
thinking
off
have
the story. Mm-hmm.
Most of our thoughts and our thinking happen in the subconscious. So
Mm-hmm.
roughly about 90% of our thoughts and our thinking happens there. And 10% is in the conscious. So being consciously aware is almost, you have to be consciously aware of the subconscious or what the subconscious is doing. And so with that said, as we are
Mm-hmm.
addressing these triggers, right, it comes up for us. We have to use that 10% to resolve those things that's lying dormant in the subconscious. And they only come up until we are triggered. So until then, we are putting on our best face, which is that 10%. So we bringing forth that representative. And sometimes it's not a representative, sometimes it's actually you, but it's only part of you, 10%. And that's not
But
even half, right?
one of the things that I realized in myself, because uh, like you, I'm choosing to deal with a lot of the trauma that's happened to me or around me
Mhm.
uh, by way of a book. I think my creativity lent itself to that direction. But what I noticed with people that I've seen trauma affect them or past situations or experience, the trigger does not connect to what happened.
Mhm.
Or people often are triggered with something over here and not realizing the
That is true.
cycle of them being triggered with something that happens over here. So,
Right,
say somebody molested you or a man did something detrimental to you. Every other man you deal with, you treat them a certain way,
right.
or you're triggered by something you see in them, not realizing that's connected to what this person did to you.
Long
Or
time ago.
right. And
Mhm.
I'm noticing people are being more and more triggered nowadays, and they haven't made a connection to what the trigger is versus what the origin of that problem is.
That's
So
correct.
the
You
issue becomes
absolutely,
the trigger and not the
yeah.
initial incident.
Right. It becomes surface in
Hmm.
short. It becomes surface. It's like you dealing with this emotion, you dealing with this reaction, you become reactive. And so
Right.
the trigger, you're just really trying to deal with and manage the emotion. And so
Hmm.
me personally, I don't agree when people say, oh, try to control your emotion. No, I don't think you can control your emotions. I think you can manage them because you have voluntary emotions, you have involuntary emotions. So you really control your involuntary emotion? I mean, you're looking at a movie and you start crying. No, you
Hmm.
can't necessarily control it, but you can manage it. Like you can kind of, try to, pull back, so that tear don't drop. Eventually it does, but that's the way of just trying to
But
manage.
even managing can
Mhm.
sometimes make the problem worse because you're not allowing yourself to feel in that moment. Now, there are inappropriate times for
That's
the
very true.
feeling,
Yeah.
but you don't, because you didn't give yourself a space when you were by yourself, or you didn't give yourself that room when you were by yourself to feel something.
Mhm.
That managing process becomes triggering because now I'm used to just bottling it up and pushing it down. But what happens when you are in overflow mode?
And so so you made a good point. So there's two different processes, right? So when we talk about manage it, you can manage it by expressing it externally, or you can manage it by expressing it internally. There's a lot of things, like for me, I internalize a lot of my feelings and emotions, but I'm dealing with it, right? So I call it processing. I have to sit
Hmm.
down, think, and process. I may not come out and say, hey, Nate, you made me mad, blah 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 blah, but I'll go back and I'll say, all right, this is what it is, this is what it is, let me process it. But the first thing in processing, you have to look at what you contributed and how you contributed.
The
But when
three
you
fingers pointing back at you.
at you. That's why I say the mirror. The book is meant to be a mirror. So when you are
Hmm.
pointing and you think you point at the other person, you're truly pointing at yourself.
What did you contribute to that? And
Yeah.
not to
Mhm.
say if you were raped, you contributed to the rape, like what you wore,
Right.
what you, but how did you hold on to this? What did you
Exactly.
do when it happened? What
Yep.
was your response to it happening? That's the three fingers pointing back.
Right. How are you dealing with it to this day? You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And with that said, then we can kind of start really bringing some awareness to who we are. So,
Hmm.
for instance, when I got my last divorce, I was tore up from the floor up. So I was very clear when people tried to date me. No, I'm not going to date you. I'm not in a good place. Why are you not in a good place? I just came out or something, and I'm going to hurt you. And people couldn't believe I was walking around saying that. Like, I'm going to tear you up. I'm going to mess you up, and I'm going to send you back in the world messed up than when you came. And that's what we tend not to do, right? We try to find solace and trying to find comfort in
Hmm.
individuals when we are toe up. And what we end up doing is we hurt them because We are either mean, short, cruel. We're not connecting on an emotional level. We use them for sex. We use them for their money. We use them for transportation, not realizing that you haven't dealt with your mess. So I was very aware and honest enough to say, hey, no, I messed up. And I even had people say, oh, it's okay. I help you through it.
Mm.
You don't even
Trigger,
have,
trigger, trigger, trigger.
look, you don't even have the boat unless you just Jesus
But
Christ
that's
and your
another
spirit is
problem. No, but that's
exactly.
another problem all in of itself. Not even for you, the person
That's what I'm
who's
saying.
admitting to the issue, them.
I
Because they
know.
wanting to fix somebody.
Right.
Nope.
And most of the times, if not all, they don't even have the capacity to provide and pour into me the way
Mm.
I need to be poured in.
Because they don't
First,
even
you
know
need
the
to have,
depth of that issue.
or even know me.
Hmm.
You know, they don't even know me.
Yeah, I understand. Trust me, and it's. I'm gonna tell you. So this process for me, and a lot of people who authors, I would say a lot of authors that I'm meeting, like yourself, I
Uh,
begin to just follow your work after I initially interview you or have a conversation with you, because this is new to me. I never thought of myself as a writer. I'm a performer, so I just take your words and I make them feel magical on stage or whatever. So for me to be on the other end of that now, it is very strange for me. But it was small things that I've started to do now where I'm starting to be that person to say, no, this is a boundary. You're crossing it right now. Things like that. I recently went to interview my father's youngest sister, and she's like the keeper of family photos
okay.
on that side of my family. And I didn't realize, just looking at pictures,
Uh,
just it brings up a lot of emotion. It brings up a lot of, but it also allows you to see the stuff in your face.
mhm.
See yourself from a different perspective, and not you just looking in your mirror every morning. But it allows you to see yourself from a different angle, and you're able to deal with things in a different way. But just trying different ways to kind of evoke that emotion,
Yeah.
because sometimes it could just be lying. For me, it was just dormant in me. I grew to be a very hard-hearted person, and I'm not naturally that way. I'm naturally a feeler. I was raised by a cancer, so I was taught to feel, and express your feelings. But I learned to just let it go dormant and let it, not die, but just, you don't need this. People
Yeah.
aren't, worthy of your emotion or your reaction to things. But
Yeah.
once I started learning boundaries, I think that allowed me, because you being triggered by something becomes your fault at some point. Like literally, you are
Yeah. You have
doing
to.
this,
Yeah. You have to take accountability.
right? Because people don't know you, so you're being triggered by somebody who don't know you. So you want them to change who they are, and you haven't even let them into who you are, so they know where the landmines are.
That's true.
And but at what point do you stop saying I'm broken? At what point do you stop telling people, hey, you don't want to date me? Because I've seen people who that just has become their response to everything. Like, at what point do you suggest? I know it's different for everybody, but what point, what's a good starting point to, start fixing the problem versus just avoiding it?
So yeah, once I identified that there was something going on, I was very thorough in my process of healing. So
Hmm.
people speak loosely when they talk about love and they talk about healing. I think they just water everything down. But
Yeah.
let me tell you, healing, and it takes a lot of work.
Hmm.
Love, can take a lot of work as well. And so first I had to understand what is love. And I was walking around saying I love myself, but my actions did not always align with my definition of love. And
So was
so,
your definition on the surface, like you took care of yourself, you did for yourself? Is that where your love was at that point,
yeah,
or
yeah.
okay?
So, and I think most people love is surface, right? And so,
Hmm.
once you do the assessment, and I don't care if
Right.
y'all get mad that I said it, your surface love. And let me tell you why.
People don't like
We,
you. They're not gonna like you.
the,
And you in
uh,
Atlanta, oh, you
yes,
about to be
yes.
oh.
On and popping. But we associate material things or external things to represent what love is for us. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I got my hair done, I got my nails done, and I bought
What
myself
people
a
can
new
see.
car. Like, bruh, girl, I mean, boo. It's so much deeper than that, right? And so once and in the book I talk about that. There's a total of 21 or 22 definitions of love, depending on how you want to, define it or use it. It could be a verb, it can be a noun, or it don't even have to be a verb or noun. It can just be all encompassing. And that's where I am in my life. Right. I
Mm.
stopped trying to make it a verb or a noun. I just or an adjective or whatever. I just try to just make it me. And if I truly say that I am a descendant or a product of God, and if God is love, then I am love. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Okay, preacher, man.
You know what I'm saying?
You
And
better
if
give a
I'm just
word.
saying, and it was hard for me to say that. And I even talk about in a book how I showed my love. When I did the assessment, I put myself number 4 out of family, God, love, and I think it was material things. I was rated number 4 when I first did my assessment. And
And
I was,
you did your own
and I did my
assessment.
own assessment. I was like,
And
there's
people
something
don't and
wrong with
don't
this.
realize it. People don't realize how far they put themselves, how far we put ourselves down on the list when
Look,
it comes to everybody else.
yes, I put my family, and and I love my family. But I don't know if you know this, but I raised my brothers and sisters, or I helped raise my brothers and sisters. My mama killed me if I say I raised them. But my mom was a financial
I'm
provider,
about to call it right now.
and I helped raise them as far as a caretaker because I'm the oldest, and I had to, excuse me, cut the umbilical cord like from my
Mm-hmm.
mom because I was also raising my mom in ways that she didn't even realize, right? So I was the
Well,
last.
you the first child, so
Yes.
you did. You taught her how to be a mother.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even go to college until I made sure all of my siblings graduated high school. I even moved my family from Miami to Atlanta so we can be out of the hood into a nice environment or a
Oh, you
nice
from
living system. Yeah.
Miami.
305 Dade County. You better know it.
Ooh.
That's a whole nother type of water
I
we
want to see
drink
your
down
hands at all times, sir. Let me see it.
And so once I did that assessment and I went through that depression and I did that assessment, I was like, there got to be some changes. So when you talk about boundaries, I had to really start identifying what those boundaries are because I love to love. I really didn't put boundaries on people because in my head, love don't have any boundaries. But what
But
I'm
you know what I've realized? It's not other people that need boundaries. It's you.
but here's the thing. Let me tell
You
you,
need to
yeah,
set boundaries
but
within
why?
yourself.
But why?
But it always starts from you because it's your actions.
Right.
You are making those clear decisions. And I'm not saying other people aren't at fault, but if we set boundaries with ourselves, like
Right.
our individual self, I think it will be people will see that. Now
Right.
there gonna still be people who want to test the boundaries and
Correct.
test the lines or test your strength, but they can't at that point do it because you are setting those boundaries with yourself. Like,
Right.
I'm not going to take these types of things. I'm going to treat myself this way. Like, you're talking a lot about self-love, but
Mhm.
you have to start first with you, and
That's
then you
true.
can slap the hands of those people who just try. And that's just what I'm discovering for myself.
Right.
I set a bunch of boundaries from other people, but my actions never changed. So
But
I
see, the
still was doing all
boundaries,
the things that I was doing before.
the boundaries that you're setting for you is also the boundaries that you're setting for others.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's
Mm-hmm.
the thing. So what a boundary pretty much is it's a preventative tools to protect you from going down a path in which
Right.
is going to cause some type of harm. And I tell people all the
Mm-hmm.
time, we do a lot of self-harm and we don't want to admit when we do the self-harm, and we give ourselves passes when we self-harm, but we don't want to give people passes when they harm us. But in actuality, them hurting us is most of the time is nothing but us pretty much self-harming ourselves because we
Making bad
allow it to
choices.
happen. Right. And so with that
Mm-hmm.
said, for the first time, and I think love, or I believe love and extending love shouldn't have boundaries. And I still kind of think that now. However, I had to change my mindset though. So now
You
when I
say that again.
so loving or giving love shouldn't have any boundaries. Love should be
Mm-hmm.
free for everybody in my mind and in my heart.
Now, DB, let me
Look
explain some stuff for you.
at hear me
I,
out.
I understand where you're coming from. Love should be a blessing. It should be something that can
Right.
actually overflow.
Yeah.
But mm, especially when it comes to family and friends,
Yeah,
maybe the world, but when it comes to family and friends, it has to have some, not limitations, but guidelines. Let's have some
some
guidelines
guidelines
to
to
this
love.
love.
So did God give guidelines to your love and what you can do? Like, I mean, He always
Well,
forgives
I'm
you,
not
right?
God though.
Well, I'm just
I'm
asking.
God
It's
light.
just a question.
You
It's
be
just a
starting
question.
stuff now. Like, where's my
So
friend?
this is what I do now, because what I
Hmm.
realize is that the love that I was given wasn't necessarily respected. It wasn't reciprocated, and most importantly, the reason that it wasn't respected or reciprocated because people were not loving themselves the way that I was taught to love myself.
Yeah, that's expectations though.
Right,
That's that word. We talked about that the last time.
right.
That
Invisible
expectation
expectation.
word.
Right.
Right.
So once I realized that, I love because I choose to love and I don't expect anything in return. I don't. I just
Right.
love
So
because,
loving yourself and loving others how you want to be loved, but not expecting them to love you how you love you.
right. Because we all love differently, right? Your
But
mom
see,
told
that's
you to
that
love,
word expect. I had to erase that
you
from
have to.
my, because not everybody was raised how I was raised,
Yes.
and not everybody was raised how I was raised.
Hmm.
So you cannot expect for other people, good, bad, or indifferent, to do for you and do to you what you would expect for them to do based on who you are and what you believe.
Because you're setting yourself to automatically be disappointed and hurt when you do
Every single
every
time.
single time. And it would
Even
never
somebody who
fail.
grew up in a house with you, that's
Yeah.
still two different perspectives
Yeah.
on a certain way of being. You know, siblings often go through this, and we expect for them. We was raised in the same damn household. Why did you become this person? Well,
Mhm.
that has nothing. You don't know how they received or interpret the
Yeah.
raising that you interpret.
Mhm. And so that's
Mm.
one of the things that I love about me and in my family and my siblings. Like, we do without expecting anything in return. So my sister can call and say, "Hey, I need $2,000 to fix whatever, whatever." Okay, and that's where it stopped with us. Any of my sisters can
You
call me.
mean that's where it stopped being? She
That's
don't
where it
get it,
stopped. Yeah,
but she can
that's
ask
it.
for anything she want. Okay.
Yeah, like that's it. But that's the closeness and the love and the relationship
Okay.
that we have with each other. And it goes back to, again, understanding each other. And that's what we're not doing. So when we're dating people, when we have friends, we have to really just get to know them. And when you get to know them, you'll know exactly what you can and you can't do. But nobody don't want to get to know nobody anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Because I think a lot, and I'm saying this. They used to call me a serial friend hopper. So me and you were best of friends from way back, and
Yeah.
then you introduced me to somebody, and somehow you show your ass, and I got to get out of here. But now I am best friends with the person you introduced me to. So
Uh,
me and this person. So most of my good friends are by way of friends.
uh-huh.
And it just so happened, and that was a lot of me because I did not set boundaries with me or with other people.
Uh-huh.
But it's just that I understand what you're saying, DV,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying
Look,
it got to be.
love.
I said not restrictions, but maybe some guidelines.
Yeah, listen,
Maybe.
there's people you're gonna have to put guidelines with, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
appreciative that I was raised and grew up in a setting that I know what it looks like not to have to do that. So when it happened,
Mm-hmm.
I was confused, and I was like, talked
When
about,
it was restrictions.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like this. I just was at it. I just experienced something this week that
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say it broke my heart, but it stunned me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Someone that I've
It
known
broke your
for
heart. You can be
years.
honest.
For
Mm-hmm.
years I was like, what? And so the things that I
Mm-hmm.
was accused of, I had to come back and to do an assessment because they weren't true. But from their perspective it was true, right? And we see things differently. I can agree with that, but here's the thing: you need to assess me and my intention and how I've been assisting you over the past 2 years to even think about, could DB really
But
do
that
something like
hurts though. That
that?
that that's when the reciprocation of love has to come in. And even if for whatever reason it was a misunderstanding and
Yeah.
somehow I believe the misunderstanding,
Mhm.
it should still we should still be at a space. And I talk about black people having to find this type of love with
Mhm.
each other, because even if you think the worst of me, there should still be something redeeming in me that you give
Ooh,
me a chance to at least have integrity with you.
right.
So I can't think the worst of you if I didn't always think the worst of you.
That's what I'm saying. It was like, how can you even think about
That
that?
mean that's how they
DB
reacted to
ignored
you.
me. DB did like I'm one of the nicest. Like I go up and talk to strangers. I even get chewed out by my mom. I'm 47
You a
years old.
tree
And my
hugger, sir? Are you a tree hugger?
yes, I'm a tree hugger. Like, and so to even think that you even think I'm capable of doing something like that, you know what? It's
Mm-hmm.
time for me to lay this boundary right here because you just told me you
Oh,
don't
that's
know
a
DB.
guideline. That's a
Yeah,
guideline.
yeah, it's a
See?
guideline. Absolutely. And so because people aren't, they get in their feelings and they don't know how to respond sometimes. I
Mm-hmm.
think, we have to definitely put those preventative measures in there. But I truly
Mm.
understand that love, and it's a chapter in my book. Love is a beautiful mess. It is a beautiful mess. And
Control
everybody,
chaos.
yeah. And everybody want to believe that love is this, it's peaches and creams and roses and fruit. Hell no.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
love and relationship is a hot mess, but it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it's not love. It means
But
that,
we have to start figuring things out because nothing's ever going to be perfect. But within our families, and I'm only speaking as a black person because I ain't never been nothing else. But within our black families and communities, we have to find that way of you may have done something wrong, and we may never be where we were, but I can't throw you away.
yeah,
Now, not everybody is supposed to be in your life for a lifetime.
yeah,
But I can't keep. We are at a space right now where I'm watching people just throw people away,
that's true.
left and right. Oh, you don't believe what I believe? Oh, you gotta go.
Yeah,
You gotta go.
yeah. That's
And
crazy.
you shaky in what you believe, but
Yeah,
because you not shaky and believing how I'm, you gotta go.
yeah. And we're doing a lot of that, and we're doing it with the justification that we are walking in our truth. And one of the things that I learned about this is that
That
they
people
just
use these
misuse that.
words. Yeah,
Yeah,
and we need to start a dictionary of misused words. You
myths.
know, yes,
We
completely
really
missed.
did. And it justifies their behavior, their nasty behavior. And
Hmm.
this being able to not have an open mind to talk about things like, no, this is what this was. Give your perception. I'm gonna give you my perception, and let's just meet in the middle. It don't have to be this drawn out thing in which we keep going back and forth, because then you end up on this wheel where you're just running around chaos,
Trying to get somebody to believe what you believe.
and that's it.
That's one of the reasons when I started my own self awareness and I hate to call it healing, but that's what it was. Uh, I eliminated the word expectation out of my life because
Good.
it was an incident that got me to that point, and I realized my expectations that I put on other people was what my issue was because I was expecting for people to, you know, I didn't in my immediate family, amongst my mother, my sister, my great grandmother, people who lived in our home, our immediate circle, I could leave my wallet somewhere and come back and it's there.
Yeah.
But when you go out into the real world, you realize you better not only you better take it with you better hold it while you're still there.
I put it in
You
your
know, and then there's other issues as attached to that. But I will put my expectations on the world based on what how my mother raised me. You know, and I even with siblings, I wasn't having those same and I could not. You know, I learned quickly I can't have expectations for other people because I'm setting standards for how you should live.
exactly. But when is it okay? Do you know when it's okay to have expectations?
I think standards are important. And I
Uh,
learned the difference between that word. So I have standards for people now in
okay.
terms of how I want to be treated, how I want to be respected. You
Right.
know, as a teacher, I learned the difference between standards and expectations because
Good.
I was putting expectations on my students based on how I was a student or how I was raised. And I'm realizing once meeting these parents and family members, oh, this different. This real different. It's a whole nother generation of people.
Mhm.
But I just learned the definition. I think you should always have standards. That's
Mhm.
standards are connected to boundaries.
Yeah. And
Expectation is control.
Not
To
necessarily,
me.
but it can be controlled. So there you
Hmm.
do have to have expectations when it comes to certain things. So when an expectation is healthy, is when
Hmm.
you and me have agreed to do this show.
And I was, as you were saying, and I was about to
Yeah.
say,
So
once we
once
made an agreement, I
agreement,
expected for DB
yeah,
to show up.
yeah, there you go. Show up and
So,
not to just show up and show out.
right,
So there's a difference now because people show
that's
up.
that Miami.
Yeah.
That's that Miami. Hmm.
So once we
I
make
should have
this
known. Oh, I
agreement,
should have known.
yeah, I need you to bring your full self, not
But
half of
that's
yourself.
once we've made an agreement.
Once you made an agreement,
But
but
if I'm
still,
just meeting you, even if I've known you for a lifetime and we
yeah.
haven't come together in friendship,
Mhm.
love, relationship, and said, okay, this is how I want to be treated, this is how you want to be treated, or do we agree that that's
Right.
a marriage? That's
Mhm.
a agreement. So
Right.
I expect for you to be faithful. But if you was cheating on me up into the altar, duh, you just that wasn't an agreement.
Yeah.
That was like pinky swear with twisted
Yeah.
fingers on the other side. But
So yeah.
again, I now that's okay. Now I get that.
And just make sure
Hmm.
again, and the key to that when it comes to that expectation, not just that y'all agree to it, that you agree to it and you're going to show up and show out.
Hmm.
Because what I'm finding out that people will show up because that's what y'all agree, but they don't come and bring their full self. They come, they have
Mm.
self. They show up and they on a telephone and y'all supposed to be doing business. They there
Mm.
because the agreement was that y'all
Are you
supposed to be
talking
at
about
such and such and
somebody
such.
specific, Mister
Uh,
DP?
Oh no, no, no,
Okay,
no.
I'm nosy sometimes.
No, but I've learned this like with interacting with people, and
Hmm.
so this is your platform, right? And so this is your professional side of you, but just as well as we have the professional side, we have a personal side. And so we
Hmm.
want both sides to be fulfilled. And they're not going to be fulfilled if you have expectations and people are coming in and just showing up and not doing anything. You got to come and show up and do the work. Just like when you show up for yourself to get
Hmm.
yourself on, you got to do the work. You just can't show up and say, okay, self, I'm here.
Yeah, and I think we've gotten so used to just showing up.
Yeah,
I said I told you I would show up. I'm here,
that's
and
it.
then you don't do what is necessary for you to sustain yourself while you're there.
Uh,
You renege on the other half of the agreement to show up, and then like you said, show out and do what you need to do. You can't just in relationships. I see a lot of people showing up to relationships. Okay, we're in a relationship, but we're not doing anything mutually that is relationship oriented that we agreed on.
right.
And that's when the expectations get to another level. So then you
Mhm.
have to keep setting these agreements, these milestone
Goals.
agreements
Yep.
with individuals, and you can't just have one blank. Just like contracts, once the expiration date hits, you have to make it
Renew.
another agreement. You just
Have
don't.
to renew.
Okay, yeah, this time my name to that. No, I have different needs right
Needs
now.
now. Yeah.
So let's let's
And I'm
reassess
glad you
that.
said that because I don't know where I was, and we were having this group discussion, and it was like, oh, I was in this relationship, and he came in, and he was the top, but then all of a sudden he wasn't the top, and he got all mad. And I was like, so did you expect him not to change at some point? Like we evolve, we
Yeah,
ever
that's
evolve. Well, he should have
exactly
told me
what
that before. He
happened.
had that. And I said, people just don't wake up just knowing everything, and so we have to be, and I talk
Hmm.
about this too. We have to learn how to give people grace. At first we have
Hmm.
to give ourselves grace because one of the reasons we are so hard on people because we are hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And give yourself grace. Like we're gonna mess up. People don't always know. And
Mm.
this kills me too. Well, he's 40 years old. He should know. No, everybody develop
No.
differently. You may develop emotionally
Yeah.
differently. I may develop psychologically or mentally differently. Like we
Yeah.
all are developing at different paces in
I
our life.
always use the example. I was in a theater, a play once, and I grew up mainly in a Catholic environment. And the teacher that I had, she was all the way Baptist. And the songs that they sung, we sing more hymns. They wasn't singing those songs. So I could not catch the rhythm of the songs because I
Yeah.
didn't know them. And she was like, you such and such age and you don't know these songs? And I was like, well, miss, how long did it take you to learn this song like that?
Yeah.
But you want me to learn this in 5 minutes. But it took you how many years to get to this point? So, work with people in terms of what their growth is.
Yeah.
But uh,
And all you have to do is meet people where they are. We are so selfish that we want people to be where we want them to be.
Where
Learn
we want to
for them
be,
to be right.
not
No,
where we are,
no,
but where we want them to be where we want to be.
right. And a lot of times we're not where they are. We think and we want to portray that we are. But again, oftentimes too, and I had to learn this is a hard lesson for me. I was in a relationship with Bishop. I was dating Bishop. And we were going through some things. And I'm an alpha male. And um, he was an alpha male. And I was very clear, look, I can't deal with another alpha male. You need to figure out what's going to be your role. And one
How
day
you going to shrink somebody like that, sir?
how what?
How you going to diminish somebody in that moment? I need
Look,
you to be smaller right
no,
now.
it's not even that. It's that you know who you are, right? You know your personality and being honest with it. So it was like, I know where I am. I need to now to give you like a choice, right? Not a choice. Give you an
You
opportunity.
said what you meant. You said
No,
what
I
you
didn't
meant.
mean that. Give you an opportunity to let me know where you are. And once you told me where you are, I'll let you know what? There's probably going to be some conflict. So we agreed, there was, so we had these roles, which is roles are very important in relationship. You have to know your role,
Uh-huh.
but loosely. It's not that serious. Not, at the end of the day, we had this argument, this conflict, and I remember him saying to me, "You just a mirror." How did it? I'm just the mirror that you're looking into, and everything that you're struggling with, and you have a problem with me, you have a problem with yourself.
Oop,
I looked at him
oop,
and
and
I
I
said,
oop.
"Nickel, you're absolutely right."
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, boy, that was a hard pill to swallow.
And
That was
that's
a
why a
hard
lot of
pill.
us do bump heads with other people because it's often something that we don't like about ourselves. And it has nothing to do with that person. It may not even be something that's in that person. But I
Yes.
see something in you that I don't like about myself. That's why what people criticism in today's world, I don't care anything about because it's not constructive and it's based off of my insecurities and my fears and not really moving you forward or helping you or supporting you. But I have these fears and I have these insecurities, and I want you to not do this be based off of what I fear and what I'm insecure about. But if more people were able to have those aha moments like
Yeah.
you and him had, I think we would be better off and we
Yeah.
wouldn't be worried about so much in other people.
All you have you're right. All you have to do, and again, this is something I mentioned in the book, lie in your mess. Lie in your mess.
I
Period.
don't want to. It's
I mean,
dirty.
look, don't talk about come knocking on my door. Hey DB, can I use your pool? And you ain't wash your butt, and you bring all your
Mm,
oils and your dirt and your nasty behind jumping my pool. You know how much it costs to keep up a clean chloride fresh pool? It costs a lot of money. But that's what we want to do. We want to go
mm-hmm,
over someone's house and we want to eat their food. Then we want to take a to-go plate.
mm.
You ain't offer no money. You know what I'm saying? You ain't offer to help clean up. Hey, it was nice meeting with
They gonna
y'all.
start coming after you like Yana. You
Uh,
just
look,
they not ready for that level of truth, sir.
don't come to my house unless you either working on your mess or you didn't clean your mess or you have at least identified and aware that you have mess and baggage. I can work with that. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? We can work together on that, but don't come talk
But
about
when people act as if they don't have mess, it creates chaos. It creates chaos in friendships. And I've seen, you know, right now, and I'll be transparent. Right now, me and my best friend are not. We're not even talking right now because I came to a realization that I want to be treated a certain way. And I have a big issue with how I treat women. Like I'm normally very open to them, and normally sometimes that could get not just women in general, the women I know. I don't want that type of trouble. I don't want that smoke. Uh, but I had to realize I had to learn how to set boundaries with people, and when I set the boundaries, that conflicted with what people saw me as because I didn't show up as this whole person in the beginning of our friendship. So me showing up as this complete person now, like somewhat complete person now, it affected a lot of people. And I had to be ready and prepared for that.
right.
And I had to get myself prepared during the process, which was very hard because I'm like, but okay, I was trying to be supportive of you, and I was disrespecting myself at the same time. Do you understand that? Like, do you understand I was giving you allowances that I wasn't giving to myself?
Okay.
I wasn't protecting me, and letting you be all that you could be in that moment. And some people don't care. They want you to show up as that person, that quarter of a person that you first showed your face to, or nothing
That's
else.
good. That's real good, and that's something that we have to be mindful of. We
Hmm.
have to, for people that we love, we have invested in,
Yes.
because I see my friendships, relationships as investment, right? And
Hmm.
so, at some point, I want to also collect my dividends on my investment, right? And so, with that said, we have to prepare them while we're transitioning on when we decide to transform or transition. Because first the transitioning happened, and the transition eventually turned to transformation. But if they're not prepared, or you give them an indication, then they not going to have that time they need to adjust for what's getting ready to happen.
So how do you suggest we prepare our circles and now the people in our lives? And I don't even call it change, for our growth. How do you suggest that we prepare them for that growth?
Right. So when you are aware that you are getting ready to go on this journey, you have those conversations. Hey, y'all gonna be seeing something a little different. Just like when I was meeting people and I know I was toe up, I had those honest conversations. And you
Mm.
have to let them know, because some of them not going to be prepared. Some of them going to be expecting the same you. Some of them going to assume that you're going to be something that you're not. And I'll be, transparent with you. I remember when I started refining myself, because I'm from the hood, y'all. From, and the Gary.
Ooh, I think
Yeah.
Miami. You can't even call Miami
And
good.
so
It's
I
just
remember when
Miami.
I started refining, I had to be in like in my early to mid 20s. And
Mm.
my mom, can you cuss on this show?
Go ahead, do
Okay.
your thing, sir. You
I
grown.
remember having a conversation with my mom one day, and she said, "With your bougie ass." I was
Mm.
like, "What?"
Mm-hmm.
But I
Yeah.
became bougie when I decided to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
I became bougie
Yeah.
when I decided to change, my way of eating to a more healthier lifestyle. She didn't understand that. And I didn't even, she knew I was doing these things, but I
Mm-hmm.
guess she just still wanted to be whoever I was being. But guess what? Mom eat like me now. She in there making her little veggie fruit smoothies and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I got to get my A1C
And
down.
that's, I think, for the people who do initiate the growth or the expansion, or like you said, the transitioning of who we are, you have to do it without fear, because you're always, when you're doing something right, you're always going to receive flack from it. You're going to be called difficult, you're going to be called XYZ. People used to, you eating pork chops, and you don't eat pork chops anymore. Oh, okay. You went down there with the Atlanta people, and then you get that, and it's you're different. You've always been different, but you're doing things that are different, and you're gonna get the flag back from it, and you can't be afraid of that. You
Oh,
can't even put your put your attention on that, because then that's going to distract you from your growth.
yeah, and you shouldn't. You want to know why? Because it's not about you. That mess that they
Mm-mm.
talking, it is not even about you. It's about them. And and when I was doing that,
Mm-mm.
and I told my grandma ain't say a word. You know what she said? I know y'all coming down here for Thanksgiving, baby. What I need not to put in your collard greens. How do I need to cook your
Well,
food?
she know. Well, now she know.
You
Now
know what I'm
she
saying?
know.
So here it is that
Mm-hmm.
somebody was like, that is not my issue. Why I'm worried because he's eating different. Let me just make sure I have my grandbaby had what he want. That's my grandbaby.
See, that's why grandmas are always at the top of the list, because they
Yeah,
get it. They get it. They
they
get
do.
it sometimes. Sometimes they get it. But I think, and I'm noticing that now as I'm in a different phase, because this quarantine has definitely uh, refined me a little bit more, uh, and how I accept things. Like I used to be very short with people, but now I can't even argue anymore. I'm not arguing. That's how you feel? Okay,
Oh, yeah,
great.
you arriving because that's why I am.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I even come out and say, although someone recommend I should not say this, but I really mean it. Some people say, I'm like, I really don't care. And my mom, she said,
Okay.
oh, let me see.
Yeah.
My mom is good for. Oh, let me show you who on Facebook. I'm like, Ma, I don't care. Like,
So but so that was me at 30. But by the time I was 30, I had to wash "I don't care" out of my mouth because I would say it in the most inopportune times because I just got so used to because you had to say it. That was you learning to set a boundary.
right,
Like mine, like I don't really care what's going on with the family right now. I really don't. It doesn't help me. It doesn't feed me. I don't care.
yeah,
But I had to learn a different way of saying it where my mother would still get it because she would get offended by me saying that because I didn't raise you like that. Uh, but
get
I
it,
had to
mom.
learn I had to learn how to say it in a different way that still got the message across.
Yeah,
Like this don't bring me down. I don't feel like hearing about nobody else's drama.
yeah.
And I
Um,
had to say it to her that way because we got into it because I was like, I don't care. I didn't raise you like that. Why are you saying it? But
no.
you just had to learn a different way of saying it.
One of the things that I'm still going to say it that way because it reminds me of my boundary. But I do say it in a tone where it's not. I attempt for it not to be malicious. But before I say I don't care, I
Mm-hmm.
do say, hey, no, not this, or I let individuals know like I don't indulge in gossip or I don't indulge in.
Right.
So when you telling me, hey, come catch this kind of, I'm like, how this is going to pour into my life right now because I'm tired as heck. I've been working
Mm.
all day, and so you about to give me something that's going to refuel, my box because I'm running low. If you're not going
Mm.
to refuel my soul or my make a deposit into my bank account, then we not to have this conversation. And you need to know that I don't care about what it is that you got going on. Now, if you got something good, I'm all for it. I give you my little bit of time and energy because I only got a little bit. I only got
So what I do now, I don't indulge the foolishness, but if it's a valid, and I'm not gonna say that because that's my problem too. Uh, but if you coming to me with an issue, I'm gonna listen to you.
mm,
But if we're on the third occasion and I'm still hearing that, I don't want to hear that.
yeah.
Uh-uh. Because now I'm gonna be so invested in your foolishness that now we are looking for solutions for you. That's not gonna work.
Or that
Mm-mm.
spirit just gonna jump right on you. And you don't.
Yeah, no, I had to learn that because that's what they call now trauma bonding, and
Yeah.
now we're spending hours on the phone complaining about stuff from our teenage years or relationships or like
Yep.
no, we could have been really building something right now. We could have been doing something constructive, and we're both bonding over the trauma that we both put ourselves through in that situation. Real quick, can you let us know where we can find your book and just give us a brief synopsis of what we should expect from it? Because
Uh,
my battery is about to die. This is
okay.
the new
Don't
life from
don't
home thing, and I'm
buy
gonna go plug
batteries.
it up.
Don't
So
buy.
go ahead. So tell us where you can find the book and give us a brief synopsis of
Yeah, so you can find the book on my website at Love's Pursuit ATL. That's LOVESPURSUIT ATL is short for Atlanta. .net, not .com, but .net. And you can also get it on Amazon. I prefer you to purchase it from me. If you do, you can put in Sane, SANE, and I give you a discount and also send you a couple of free gifts if you purchase it from me. However, I know some people have Amazon accounts out there, and if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. So, a quick synopsis of the book. The book really just talks about real life experiences. And so I reached out to other entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs at that. Most of them live here in Atlanta. One lives in Gary, Indiana. And we talk about some of the emotional trauma that we went through, some of the hurt, some of the pain, some of the disappointments. And the reason that we talk about that in hopes to elevate you and give you some tools that you can apply in your life. So not only do we tell our story and we explore our journey with you, in addition to that, we give you actionable steps. So this also provide you with work tools so you can sit down and you can answer these questions and really really understand who you are, why you are, and who you are becoming. And that's really important. It allows you to do self-assessments and become self-aware to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. And one of the things that I love that's in the book, I challenge you to get to know who you are by asking you the meaning of your name. Right, so some of us don't even know the meaning behind our name. And so we walk into these relationships and then we want people to get us, to understand us, to empathize and sympathize with who we are and what we're trying to do and what we bring to the table. But if you really had to sum your name up and have a meaning or a definition behind your name, what would you tell that individual? What would you tell your mom? What would you tell the person you're dating? What would you tell your boss? But once you have a clear understanding of who you are, what you are, and who you becoming, you become unstoppable, right? You walk around with confidence. You walk around with a clear head, making really good, sound decisions to help manifest the things that you want to accomplish in life. And not only that, when you have that clarity, you then begin to attract people in your circle who's supposed to be in your circle to help prepare you in and into your destiny. How many of y'all really can sit down and look around and say, she's for me or he's against me? You'll believe once you do this assessment who you learn who is for you, who comes out and
That's
show
my
up.
life. I live that. That's my mantra of life. I live that way every single day.
Do you?
I need to know if these people are here or going to be even productive in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not productive, then I got some things to talk to you about on your way out.
Yeah. 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 We need to have that really, I could call it crucial conversations. We need to have those crucial conversations.
Because maybe we can come
I'm gonna
back
buy you a
around.
book, Marty.
Because maybe we can come back around in a year or so after you change some things about yourself or update. I don't want to say change because I don't like trying to force people to change because
Oh,
you
Marty
are
is
who you
growing
are.
in the pandemic.
No, it's not growth because I get rid of people. You know that. I don't stick around for your change. You
Mm-hmm.
have to go do your change on your own, but you got to get out of here.
Yeah. And that's very true. And there's some, believe it or not, then there's some people who we don't mind putting the effort, the extra effort into, but you have to really understand who deserves that extra time
Hmm.
and who doesn't.
So, in terms of what you want people to take from this book, what do you want people to walk away with this book understanding or being aware of?
I want people to be aware. Once we raise the awareness vibration, the understanding will automatically happen. And what we find out, and I challenge you to think about, look at how much time you spend going to school. How many years did you invested in school? How many years did you
Uh,
invested in these relationships? How many years you invested on your job, making them billions and billions of dollars?
mm-hmm.
Sit here and tell me how much time you invested in yourself. Come on, let's
And
get
that's
real.
Oh, that hit a button right there because I'm going through that right now.
Yeah, it's
I'm gonna order a book for Marty because he definitely needs this.
Oh no, I want that book. Yes, give me that book. I'll take that book because
I'm
I'm going
gonna
through that
definitely
right
get a
now.
book for you.
I'm tired of keeping books for somebody else. I can't do it no more. My energy has been
But it's
depleted.
not even the task that you're doing. It's just what are you putting into you? Because and just getting on the subject of working for somebody else, you're making somebody else's life, free to be a philanthropist or
Hmm.
take vacations during the quarantine or chill. But what are you putting into you? And even from DB's perspective, he speaks through a love perspective. What are you giving to yourself? You
yeah.
pouring out. And what my great grandmother, her last lesson to me in life, I remember at 15 before she passed away, the night before, she told me, you can make sure your cup is always full. And everything that pours over is what you give to other people.
Mhm.
Because I was having issues with friends and I was being there for everybody. And, I think I wanted to do something and I didn't have enough people that wanted to do it. And she was like, you have to make sure your cup is always full. Because had you given the time that you gave to others, to yourself, you would have the energy to do this on your own. You would
Let me
not.
give y'all an example too, because I
Mm-hmm.
want you to see this how this direct correlation comes into play for why I changed my current existence. Um, so I'm leaving my full time job right now
Mm-hmm.
to focus on what truly means something to me, and that is this
Mm-hmm.
radio station, right?
Yep.
And I realized through, especially these past 2 months, that there's a direct correlation between me working at that job and these shooting pains that I've been having going up my neck.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. which, I got these shooting pains from as a result of a car accident, but I did the physical therapy. They resolved themselves, but then I realized that stress induced pain. It started with the stress induced pain, and so I started in the past 2 months. These pains have started to come back every single day. So when I did my resignation on this past Monday, they're gone.
Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Won't he do it?
And I'm gonna tell you why that's good, because in the book I challenge people to really think about how much time and energy that they are putting into these corporations. They pay you anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000, depending on where you live and cost of living, right? For your talent gifts, so they can make billions. You better get right. Give them the bare minimum. Look at that the job description. You give them exactly what they say on it and nothing more. Nothing more. And you come home and you put that into what you really want to do, because that's really your purpose. Your purpose is really not at that job.
Right.
And then I'm tired of being listened to and not heard.
Well,
yeah. So from a love perspective, how do we incorporate a lot of the lessons that you're teaching into a book? Real quick, we're going to give, I'm going to open the phone lines up. So if you have any questions for DB, 443-642-9403, please call in and ask away. But and I'm telling somebody else to call in because she just forced me to say her name, Miss Jana. Miss Jana just forced me to say her name. So Jana, you have the number now. Call in. But how in terms of a love perspective, how do we incorporate a lot of these lessons into our relationships?
One of the things that I love about the book, and this goes back to something that you said. So grandma said we need to make sure we pour into ourselves. How? That's the thing. And that's what I don't necessarily like about church. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you go to church and they give you this broad overview, but they don't really give you the steps. What are the actionable steps that I'm going to do when I walk out of church so I don't come back still tore up next week? And so this is what the book does. One of the things that you do, you affirm yourself. So every time you go to a chapter, before you even read a chapter, you're going to affirm who you are. So this is my belief system. You affirm, people validate, and God confirm. You affirm who you are, and once you start practicing what you affirm, and people going to notice you. They're going to say, oh, what's that glow? What's that aura about you? That's that validation. Oh, you so talented, you gifted. And so when we get that validation, sometimes we want to question that. Oh, she's just saying that. She's just saying that. Then all of a sudden, as you keep practicing and practicing,
you don't believe it.
Because you don't believe it. But then someone that you truly trust, God or your power, comes and confirm it. Not only does he confirm it, he validates it. Then you like, oh, God. Oh, and that's when you start believing it. So that's the process. Everything in the book happened in threes. You can say the body, son, and the Holy Ghost. You can say cognitive, emotional, and behavior. But everything in this book is in threes. I tell people to read it 3 times. There's power in number 3.
Because it's that's how you develop habits, and this is a good habit. And setting boundaries and being clear, and that big thing, affirming who you are. I work with a lot of artists, a lot of children who don't have that. And I'm wondering, where has the ball been dropped where we're not giving people that basic tool to affirm who we are? Like if you going out into the world with and most of us are shifted from 17 to 18, and now we're adults and we don't have a clue as to what that means, but you don't even have a foundation in that. And we have to begin to, I think books like this will give people a foundation in learning that, specifically as adults. And we were talking before about you wanting to partner with some nonprofits, and I really think something like this should be given to children, because you're finding children today don't have that sparkle that we had, and most of us had as children, or in past generations. Not to say everybody had it, but and me looking at those photos, I just remembered being a child who could dream, who could imagine, who I used to do this thing where I would just stir off at something and fix my attention to it, and I would mentally make it fall apart and then put it back together in my head. And I did that for a lot of my childhood. I was a little weird, but but I noticed a lot of children don't have that sense of imagination or creativity in them anymore. Everything is black and white. Everything is social media, and we have to step away from all of this newness and just go back to a space of just collecting ourselves and just learn. How do you suggest people learn to love themselves honestly and not just in the surface, like what label is on me today?
Just spend time with yourself and sit in your mess. You don't
Mm.
start healing until you sit in your mess. You don't start healing until you acknowledge the good. I mean, the bad and the indifferent. The good is all, and I tell folks, it's easy to shout when you're rich. It's easy to shout when you got a new car. It's easy to shout when you got a new
But
house.
look at how many of
God
those rich
has blessed
people
you,
are falling apart.
right? But how often do you come and shout when you're going through trauma? How often
Hmm.
do you come and shout and say, "Thank you, Jesus," when you're going through heartache and pain? Because you know what? That's where you learn from. You don't learn from the fact that you got a house. You learn from what you've been
The
through.
struggle,
Yes.
the journey to getting it.
Mhm.
That's the lesson.
Right. You don't go
So,
to college and don't struggle. Go ahead.
what does it look like? Because yeah, there was a lot of tuna fish sandwiches in college. But but what does looking or sitting in your mess look like for you? So
Sitting-
if so people understand what that means for them or could mean for them.
Okay. So sitting in my mess, for example, when I found out that I had kidney disease, I worried, I cried, I really thought I was gonna lose my kidneys and stuff. So it's just sitting in my feelings, in my emotion, and being able to get to a point where I accepted that I have this kidney diagnosis. So sitting
Mm,
in your mess is just really dealing with your feelings and your emotions. Okay. But dealing with the way that is happy and that is healthy. Then when you come to the point where you feel like you may owe someone an apology, you go ahead and you give that
mm,
apology and realize the apology is not for them, it's for you. And we get so caught up, I don't want to tell so and so, and I don't want to seem like I'm weak. Well, baby, you are weak. You just not showing them that you're weak.
hmm.
You are breaking down. When you walk in that house and you get butt naked, ain't nothing pretty about that. We have to
Oh,
understand.
it's everything pretty, but I don't know about what your house looks like when you run next to it. Mine look wonderful.
But
But
look,
I do understand what you're saying. That
I'm going to say this to you, Nate. I love you.
thank you. I love you too, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate you.
So that was an activity. So that's the first one in a few times that I had someone respond to me like that.
Hmm.
Usually, you didn't hesitate. You
Hmm.
turned around. You gave me eye contact. You acknowledged that. But go around and you tell people that, you'll be like, oh, and that lets you know that they're not
Yeah.
comfortable with love. With
Well, I'm gonna tell you that's a learned trait in me.
Okay.
Because I didn't grow up in a family where we said I love you outside of a funeral.
Mhm.
And that's normally us talking to the dead body at that point, not even to each other
Yeah.
or supporting each other. But many of us are growing up in families where hugs and kisses are like,
Yeah,
and
daddy.
I'm 37 now, and that happened then. So imagine the people that's growing up right now without,
Yeah.
touch is a basic form of life, and we don't touch each other in that way, and not just verbally, but saying I love you. That used to be. It would make me cringe. It makes me cringe now, but I can say it. But if I don't mean it, I won't say it.
Mhm.
But I've learned how to say it in an endearing way, in a platonic way,
Mhm.
where it is not attached to a romantic relationship. You know,
That's good.
even amongst friends, you have to get your. But it's a learned lesson.
Marvin,
That's a
you have
learned
to
lesson.
you have to retrain, you have to reprogram. And that's something
Mhm.
that you got. Like when I used to do that with my family, because I didn't tell my mom I loved her till I was 27 because it wasn't a part of our upbringing. And when I started saying it, it was like, oh my God, what's wrong with him? Mama, what's wrong with him? He sick? He going through something?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a part of my family. And even with my grandma, so even with my dad, I was the
Mm-hmm.
common denominator. So now they know, they're comfortable with it now. But before,
Yeah.
and I was uncomfortable saying it, but somebody had to, change
But
that.
were you introduced through somebody else? Like you saw another
Yeah,
friend of you doing it?
my ex taught me how to love. He taught,
Mm-hmm.
in well, we ain't gonna say all that, but one of the takeaways that I took away from my last relationship is being able to express love in a vulnerable way. I was able to express it in a very assertive way because I was raised up in a assertive home. But now I'm able to do it just because it feels good, just
Mm-hmm.
because I mean it, and just because I see the beauty and love in others.
Right. And I'm saying that's the part of communication where it's a constant decision for me. It's not even learning a lesson, but it's a constant decision that I'm making to express love, because I think in many of our families, love is there. It's a little weird, it's a little on its side, it's a little tough, but we show our love in what we give to each other, or how we show up when you die. That's how we show our love, but we have to learn how to express that love. And I think we have a phone call.
Okay, phone call.
Hello. I think this
Hello.
is Lady Two Fingers, Miss Golden Fingers.
Hello. Hey,
How are you?
Dizzy. Hey, Nate.
How are you doing? We're talking about love.
Love. That's my favorite subject.
Are
Oh.
you good at saying I love you to people?
If I do, yeah.
See.
See now. So we got some things to work with.
Why? I should say I love
how
you to
many times
people
have
I
you read the
don't
book?
love.
But you still have to love people, though. You have to have love for people.
Oh, but I mean, okay. So it depends.
She on book. She on trial number 2. She read the book twice already. She got to read it one more time. CB says you have to read the book 3
You
times.
can't tell everybody you love them, though. Some people take it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And for me, me saying I love you, it's not for them, it's for me.
Okay.
And so I don't necessarily, and you'd be surprised, people that take it the wrong way are also the people who haven't experienced the love that you're sharing.
This is true. That's probably true. But I'm still, I love both of you.
Oh, Lady Goldfingers. If people don't understand the voice, this is Miss Jana. She is the co-host both of the We Are You Radio morning show and
Wellness
show,
Wednesday. Yeah.
Wellness Wednesdays. So she is calling, and this is the first time I'm trying to get them to come on. But I think all of the hosts of the We Are You morning show got warrants. I think they are wanted. Or they got too many loves out there. I think Jenna got too many loves out there, too many stalkers. So she don't want people to know where she is.
Too funny.
Call it in. But we're gonna try to get you on the show.
Say hi to both of you. It's nice seeing both of you together.
Thank you. He's a great guy. He's a great guy, teaching me how to love and express
the love.
He is a
great guy. Yeah, and be sure to get it. You have his book already?
I ordered it. I got the kits, so I don't know what the kit is. I don't know if that comes with special adornments. I don't know.
Extra tricklets.
Okay. Oh, see, I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting
want you to know my name is on the acknowledgement page, so be sure you read that. Okay.
I'm gonna read it out loud. When I get the book, I'm gonna read your name out loud in the book.
Thank you. Now I'm going to go eat and let you guys finish talking about love. I'll be listening now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
But it is, and I'm finding it hard as an adult to make that decision, because as Jana said, if you don't think the person's deserving of it, if you don't know how they're going to receive it, you normally hold back. And I know it. Being in the theater world, that's how I learned to say I love you and do the whole hugging thing. Because I'm telling you, it was very uncomfortable, DB. It was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, and to me, art is a love. I mean, art is a love. Love is an art. Love is an art. It's one of those things that you can always put your finger on it, but you can identify with it, you can feel it, but you would never completely understand it, like, because it's always changing. And it's ever evolving. Even though the dictionary tried to give us a formal definition of love, your love can never be defined. My love,
and it's really different from person to person. Yeah. It's how I express and how I show my love to my mom is different from my sister to you to it's. And I think we're in that mindset that it has to be the same.
Yeah, it also,
especially if you've been through something traumatic, trying to then love somebody makes you feel uncomfortable, because what if the person you love is the person who did it to you? Yeah. And now I'm trying to love people and it makes it uncomfortable for me. So especially I think if you're dealing with people who have experienced trauma, which most of us have, if not 99.999% of us have, you have to be patient in how people express love. And I think a lot of my friends, and I'm really thankful for the friends that I've had, because I think I've let out in doses, and now I'm kind of like this running faucet, expressing and just sharing my story so people understand. It wasn't that I didn't like anybody or I was bougie. It was just, you have to learn how to dose out your emotions when you've gone through something that's far bigger than anything you've ever gone through before. You got to be mindful of that and give people that. I talk a lot about now giving people space and giving people's inner child a space, because often that's the core of our healing. You got to let that inner child heal also, or wherever it happens to you at, you got to let that person in you heal.
Yeah.
And then as people around, we can't just keep dropping people because they're going through stuff. You know, I can't deal with that. I be honest about it. And the moment I start being honest about, like I would have those conversations with my mom, and she would run down a list whenever we would talk on the phone. Well, such and such, and this happened. Mom,
Yeah, I don't have
real.
time for that. Mm-mm.
And then there are other times where I let her run through the list, and I say, and then the other times I'll be like, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you good? Okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And and I used to watch people be that short with people, and I was like, oh, you so rude, you so rude. But people had to learn how to. That's how people learn how to protect themselves.
Yeah. And it's a dysfunctional way of doing it. But again, life happens and they try to cope as best as they can. But one of the things that I'm learning is that a lot of us don't even have healthy coping mechanism or healthy coping skills. So we don't have those healthy coping skills. We react in a way that is emotional. And one thing that I like that's probably going to stay with me forever and a day is that you have to allow that child to really have their time. It's almost like they're having a tantrum. So to me, when they react the way that they do, and it's so unprofessional, so immature, I call it undeveloped. Because people get offended when you say immature, so I say it's undeveloped. Your emotions, how you handle them are undeveloped. So when they get like
so bougie, so bougie.
When they get like that, there's childlike. It's childlike behavior. Really, what you said.
And you got to get, and it's hard to give people that space in those moments, but you really have to. You have to, maybe help them, take them away from where the crowd is and bring them over to the side and let them express that, protect them in that way where they're not out in public doing it. But, even in that case, often we try to quiet people, but what if somebody in that space hurt them and needs to be revealed in that moment? Or what if that person is going through something? We try to, like we do to children, hush them, but they're crying for a reason.
Exactly.
So let's get off to the side. Let's go through this, But a lot of people in today's world, they ain't got time for that. I got to deal with me. I got to get my bag. I got to deal with my issues. I ain't got time for yours. And I'm realizing there's a lot more people like that now than the people who are open and having their arms open for you to be on their shoulder. But that's because a lot of people, and on the other side, people are going through a lot more in today's world, openly going through things a lot. But we got to give people a space to heal and grow and express. As a teacher, that's just something that I don't like crying children. I just can't. I can't deal with it. And you gotta give children that room to express that. Get it out. Let's get it out. Get it out. You good now? Okay. So you ready to tell me what's wrong? And then normally the problem works itself out because you've given them a space to release.
Another actionable step I would like to leave people with is that let me ask you this. How many, I call them Power Rangers. How many of you have Power Rangers around you?
Like supportive friends or family?
Yep. So you know how the Power Rangers, they all have their special skills? And sometimes they have the skills that you don't have.
Yeah.
So in the book, I encourage people to find your Power Rangers. So I have 5 Power Rangers myself, and they all have the different colors. They all the red, white, yellow. Find your Power Rangers, and your Power Rangers supposed
Okay.
to have the skill sets that you don't necessarily possess. And I have one Power Rangers. We have Power Ranger Thursdays, and he calls and he
Mm-hmm.
prays, and we affirm each other every week on Thursday. And so those are the individuals that you should be able to go and have your temper tantrums. Who's not going to judge you? Who's not going to see you as less
Mm-hmm.
than or weak when you're going through whatever it is, where you can kind of be transparent. And
Right.
so if you don't have that, then you need to get it real soon. And I'm not
They,
talking about financial assistance. I'm talking about all emotional and cognitive.
Yeah.
Nate's a
But
Power Ranger. Nate's a
well,
Power
you
Ranger. I don't
well,
know
you
what color
know,
he is because he's so flamboyant. But I don't. He's a, he's
The
a
Skittles,
Power
the taste of the rainbow.
it always takes somebody. Well, in on honesty, I received that, but that thing in me that's always trying to help or listen or encourage, it's because I was lacking that. That was something that I was lacking in my life. And once I started working with children, I realized how important that was. It's important for us to have these wraparound services around us and not just somebody you can call when your BGE, your electric about to get cut off, or
Right.
when you need a couple dollars, or you need a helping hand. But it really it's a somebody who can
Yeah.
just listen, or
Yeah.
somebody who's a good problem solver or a good conflict resolution person. So I get that. In my life, I call it an accountability partner.
Okay.
So I've learned to have those individuals around, and often they don't even know that they are accountability partner. I don't address them as that. And then I have some more formal accountability partners that are other artists that when you're going through things, there's somebody I can go to. But I receive that because I just know what it feels like to not have that support system. As you said, you feel lost, you feel by yourself. That's a feeling of loneliness when you don't have anybody to call in a moment, or you don't have a space or a platform to be able to, talk to somebody when you're going through something. And it's not even something life or death. It may be, as an artist, I don't know when it's time for me to quit my job, or when it's time for me to, take my stuff to another level. People who are honest with you. A lot of the Power Rangers in my life, the Tracys, the Tanelias, the Elaine's, a lot of people in my life outside of my family, of course,
Mhm.
they are people who I could go to when, Tanel, my friend Tanelia, I could go to her when I want an honest feedback about something. When I don't want nothing sugar coated, she's a little bit older than me. She gonna give it to me real direct, and my feelings aren't in her mind when she's saying it. But she's gonna be loving. It's gonna be like a big sister, you know. But I that's really important. I think that's gonna be a really big chapter in terms of making people aware and identifying those people in your life, because sometimes we feel like we don't have those people, but those people exist in our lives. We just have to appoint it to them, or it's like asking somebody to be your mentor. You
That's
know.
exactly true. And I'm glad you said something about the young lady who will hold you accountable. That's one stipulation of having a Power Ranger or having that support system. They cannot be a yes man. You will not
Hmm.
grow from that. You will not.
Yeah.
You need someone who's going to call you on the carpet, hold you accountable, but
Yeah.
also going to be your, I like to call it like my superheroes, right? I
Hmm.
list them all in the book and I honor them. You have to have those superheroes because those are the people who are be able to going to see you and your potential when you can't see you and your potential and you just going through it. And they're going to keep pushing. They're going to keep pushing you because they see it and they believe in you. But
And
then
as DB said, it's not the person that's gonna give you the down deposit. It's not the person that's gonna cash app you every 5 minutes.
no,
That's not a Power Ranger.
no. And the one going to say, what did you do? Not the one going to be like, and he did what? No, girl.
Hmm.
They're going to listen to the story and it's like, okay. And so what did
Hmm.
you do? And it's so fun. And it's something I do when I'm dating, when I meet someone. And I don't know why they always ask the question, so what happened in a relationship? And you know how I start the
Don't
relationship?
judge me. Do not, because I want to know. I want to
Yeah.
know what I'm facing,
And when I
and I
start,
want you to answer honestly. What happened,
that's
DB?
fair though. It's fair. But they usually go into what the other person did. I never do that. I always go into what I contributed.
And that's why I
I
asked the
always.
question, because if they go right to, well, they
Yeah, I'm like,
red flag.
Yeah, we're not going down there. And I was like, you know
Mm-hmm.
what? I always say, if you were to ask both of us this question, you're going to get two different perspectives. However,
Mm-hmm.
this is mine. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of call out my faults. And they usually ask, well, have you learned for that? Or would you do that again? And da 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 da. But yeah, I call me out on the carpet ASAP.
All the time, and that's really important. And it's not self-loathing, but
Mm,
you have to be honest about who you are. And everybody doesn't deserve that truth. But when it's the person, it's somebody that you respect, that you want to be with, or you want to be in your life, give them that respect and give them that honesty, because you never know who's going to stick around and who's not. I want to close out the show. I want to give DB an opportunity to put that information out there. Where can we get the books? Do you have any workshops coming up? Because I know you were doing workshops leading up to the launch of your book. Do you have any more coming up?
So I don't have any workshops coming up because I've been focusing on my licensure and my dissertation. But when
Mm-hmm.
I finish all that, there will be some. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Loves Pursue ATL. And lovespursueatl.net is where you can purchase the book. Like I said, if you put in a code SANE, you'll get a discount with some extra gifts because I'm sending out free gifts. But what I will say, I'm in a process. I do sell wellness accessories. I'm in a process of getting that out
Come
on
on, merch. Come on, merch.
wellness accessories. I'm getting ready to have this big campaign for Black men in June, so watch out for that. And last
Mm-hmm.
but not
Mm-hmm.
least, I did start making candles as well, so that'll be coming on the website as well. So I have some things in a pipeline. It's just a matter of time, and there's not enough time in the day to make it all happen.
Well, just do one thing at a time. Don't try
Yeah,
to do everything in one day,
yeah,
because we need DB to be here as long as possible.
yeah.
But once I get the book, and I'm gonna read it 3 times, and I'm gonna call you back on, and we gonna have some conversations, because I'm going right to the chat. I don't never read books in order. That's me. I'm gonna just put it
Oh,
up front.
that's
But I'm
interesting.
gonna go straight to that accountability partner book, that Power Ranger section, because
Section.
that's something that I have to be mindful, because I receive it as being a person, but I'm learning to ask for help and
Mhm.
support and reach out there, because that's not something that I was naturally able to do. So I'm gonna take my notes and get my little sticky notes ready
Do
with
it.
my questions and such. But I'm really proud, and I'm really congratulatory of you for making this step. And maybe next time we talk, you gonna have that doctorate, and we gonna get
Look,
you
ain't
through it.
no maybe. I will. So this is where we firm. I will be Dr. Marshall
That,
by next year quarter. Period.
well, Bishop, let's touch and agree. We're gonna get that. Let that board be in that right sounding mind to
Yeah.
receive your dissertation argument. And this has been the Artist Exchange Radio Show. Don't forget, if you have any information on Jakara, the image has been up on the screen the whole time. Please call that number. And again, this has been the Artist Exchange Radio Show with myself, Nate Couser. Peace out. Hold on one second.